matter economy. Now, economy is something that you can use in any given topic even abstract topic, you can definitely talk about economy. Now, when we talk about economy, right, we're going to be talking predominantly about India. As of now, I will be giving you example of India, then I'll tell you what needs to be done. So basically, what is expected out of you is that you should have a good knowledge about 2 to 3 economies in the world. So from my perspective, I would say India is the one. Then you should know a little bit about China. Then you should know about Pakistan, because there has always been a comparison between India and Pakistan and so on and so forth. You should know emerging economies, right? Now you should know so emerging economies is basically, economies which are pretty much challenging, like, you've got Mexico, you've got Brazil, you've got Vietnam, you've got Indonesia, you've got Malaysia and all that stuff, right? Even Thailand for that matter, to be very honest. So how these economies are emerging and where the entire world is moving now, because emerging economies are those economies which have a tremendous potential to grow in coming future. Yeah, so that's how they increase their tourism and trade and all that stuff. Okay, so India, Pakistan, China, which all emerging economies, and there may be a comparison with USA. Okay, so there are a couple of parameters which you need to understand, and then whenever you talk, whenever there is a comparison between India, China, India, USA, or for that matter anything, you can definitely talk about the economical parameters. So what are those economical parameters basically? Now let's keep this little aside. Okay, let's talk about India first. So in India, my first point is about ranking. Okay, now as I said in my last GD video, you don't have to learn India's story, what happened in 1960s and 70s. Just forget that. Don't worry about that, because everybody knows that Indian story looks pretty good and we have grown in last 50-60 years. Okay, so when I talk about rankings, what you need to understand is, say, Human Development Index. So what's India's ranking on Human Development Index? Okay, what's India's economy ranking? I mean, we stand on number 3, we stand on number 4, we stand on number 2, whatever it is. Okay, then the second important thing is GDP. What is the current GDP? Okay, now GDP में दो चीजें हैं. Okay, you can do the comparison. What was the GDP of India back in 2000 and 2001? This is 10 years after the liberalization, by the way, LPG. What was it there? Then you can talk about Indian GDP in 2000 and say 13, Congress era. Then you can say Indian GDP currently. So what's the GDP rate as of now? Now, whenever you talk about GDP, I would advise you that please talk about year-on-year growth or quarter-on-quarter growth. So year-on-year growth or quarter-on-quarter growth, what happens most of the time, you're delivering a good content, but these jargons, they'll help you. You need to tell them that, okay, the GDP that you're telling 6.4, is it year-on-year or is it quarter-on-quarter? That shows how good you are with your content and how much you have understood as far as the concept is concerned. So GDP is going to be like this. Then what I want you to understand is, when I talk about GDP, there is something called as predictions. Okay, now this is quite important. Okay, predictions by whom? Predictions by IMF, predictions by Moody's, okay, predictions by S&P, predictions by World Bank, and predictions by RBI. Okay, given you any topic, social media, sports, women empowerment, data security, whatsoever, this thing can be used in the topic. Now, the IMF has predicted, or they have speculated, that India will be growing at 7.3% rate. Okay, and more or less the other guys have predicted close my figure. Somebody has said 6.9, somebody has said 7.1. By the way, RBI being very optimistic, they said 8%. Now, I will not go with RBI's figure. Basically, I think RBI is just like it's like mother, So, beta kaisa bhi ho, bachcha kaisa bhi ho, mother is always very much optimistic about him or her. So anyway, so 8 looks very challenging. Not really sure if it's going to be 8 in the coming financial year, but I think if you ask my view, I think we should range round about 6.8 to 7.1. That's the figure that I'm looking at. Okay, so predictions are very important. You should also be telling people that, okay, what are the predictions that world has done as far as India is concerned, because this can be used in India story, India 2020. This can be used in demonetization. This can be used talking about BJP era and all that stuff. Okay, so this is quite important. Now Now, how this can be connected to women empowerment? Fine. So, women empowerment. So, the point can be everybody would agree that you need women empowerment. And for the fact now, India is a growing country. Look at the GDP expectations, 7.3%. Like, we are going to be the leaders in the world as far as the GDP is concerned. And when you call yourself as a leader, and when women are not treated, equally or properly in a country like India, then I think it's kind of a little shame on us. In this manner, you can kind of put this topic ahead. So, giving the data, giving the figures, talking about the economy, and then kind of connecting it to your women empowerment makes heck lot of sense. Yeah, you can also say that women have always been a great part as far as India story is concerned. If you go, say, 30-35 years back, we used to, not 30-35, I think around about 40-45 years back, Indira Gandhi was the only name that we used to take whenever there is a topic about women empowerment. Eventually, we went on to PT Usha. Eventually, then we went on to Kalpana Chawla. Now, in the business era, we have so many girls that we can talk about. The women cricket is coming up. So, as and when we have seen the country moving up the ladder, I think women have done a great job, something like that. That's how I want you guys to, connect this figures to the topic. Okay, so GDP is the one. Then you guys need to talk about sports. Okay, where do we stand on the sports front? Now, sports doesn't mean that. So when I say sports, right, I'm very sure people will be talking about cricket, they'll be talking about football, they'll be talking about hockey. But people will not be talking about swimming. People will not be talking about the Olympic Games. So I want you, if you really want to be a little bit hatke or little bit different than the crowd, do not talk this. Do not talk about any point which is common or anything that comes in your mind quickly, because if that comes in your mind quickly, there are other people also, like there are 10 to 12 people, they will be also thinking on a same level. So just stay away and try to give some different point. Don't give the same ghisa pita point, right? Then comes ranking on, ease to do business. Yeah, ease to do business. What's India's ranking as far as ease to do business? Okay. Now, most of you guys may say that, okay, India's ranking is to do business is say round about, say 139. Okay. I'm not sure, guys. I'm just trying to give you the answer. So say this is 139. Okay. Now, most of the guys will tell you that, okay, today we stand on 139 or something like that, or whatever, like 126 or whatever. This is not important. This data is not important. If I were you and if I want to create a difference in my group discussion, I would say that, okay, that's a great point. You said that we moved to 126. That's a great point. But let's understand where we jumped from. We jumped from, say, 139 to 126. And that's a jump of 13 places. That's incredible. This is a part of your analysis. समझा? तो बाकी का बच्चों लोग ये बोलेगा, you tell them this, that we moved from 139 से लेके 126. That's an amazing jump. Now who's there on 139? Tell them that as well, which country is there on 139. It's basically you are bringing value to the table. That's it. And that's where, as a panelist, see, every panelist knows कि भाई इंडिया का जहाँ पे ease to do business का जो stats है वो क्या है. But लोगों को ये नहीं पता कि okay, we got on to 126 from 139. And when you tell them that with the analysis, as a panelist, I am interested in listening to you. तो जैसे मैंने लास्ट टाइम पे बोला था, राइट, कि पहला जो 5 minutes होगा दैट्स गोइंग टू बी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड क्रिटिकल, देन द अटेंशन विल गो डाउन, देन अटेंशन विल कम, राइट. बट इफ यू आर टॉकिंग सेंस and if you're talking really something out of what others are not talking, or if you're talking something which is uncommon, then even my concentration goes down now. And whenever you talk, I'm gonna listen to you, boss. Fine. So that's gonna happen. So I want you guys to kind of take this seriously and make points which are a little different. Do not go with the crowd. Fair enough. Now, after this, you can talk about India, how good we are as a manufacturing sector. Now, there has been an immense problem with India's manufacturing. There are some geeks, there are some researchers in the world. They have said that the India story, okay, the India story. Now, what do you mean by India story? India story, sir, kitni baar se aap bol rahe ho India story, India story? India story is nothing but basically people feel that we're going to grow very well in the Modi Raj, okay? So people say that India story is basically an awesome story. However, it can be a great failure and it can hit us back if we do not take care of our manufacturing sector. Because we are damn good with our service sectors, but we are not good with our manufacturing sector. That's what is the major problem. Now, to bring manufacturing sector, rather to uplift manufacturing sector, we started with Make in India and all that. So I would urge you guys to have a little idea about Make in India. What is it? Is it a success? Is it a failure? Whatsoever. Just have a look at it. Okay. Now, Later on, we can talk about some parameters. Okay, we can talk about some parameters, some economic parameters. GDP. You should know GDP growth rate. You should know the expected. I just discovered this, but what I wanted to understand is GDP is in two terms. One is in dollar term, and one is in the percentage term. When I talk about percentage term, it's a growth rate. But I should know what is the value of my country's GDP, how much trillion it is. Why? Again, it's a different thing. People are not talking about it. You will be talking about it. Fine. Then comes Forex. How good we are at Forex. See, to understand or to value any country and its potential, its financial potential, Forex plays a vital role. So I want you guys to have a little idea about, how much is the Forex that we have. Balance of payment, nothing but EXIM. How much we earn, how much we earn via export and how much we spent on import. Per capita income. Okay, per capita income is pretty good. This is the good point. You should know this. What is the per capita income? Read a little bit about it, you'll get it. Okay. The most important point, current account deficit. Yes. Whenever there is a rating that takes place by all the credit rating companies in the world, as I said, Moody's and S&P's and World Bank and all that, the first thing that they check out is the current account deficit. And the current account deficit has to be lower if the country is on a way of its growth. Larger the current account deficit, the country's rating go down. I'll give you a quick cycle. Okay, just be with me. Okay, higher the current account deficit, it means lower is the performance of a country. Lower the performance of a country, you will receive lower ratings from the Moody's and S&P's. If you receive lower ratings from the Moody's and S&P's and World Banks and the IMF in the world, there is a good sentimental hemorrhage in the investors, amongst the investors or amongst the international investors. So when these guys don't give you good rating, the FDIs and FIIs coming to your country goes down. When there is a negative sentiment in your country, when there is less flow of FIIs and FDIs in the country, people in the country, that's the domestic crowd, it gets panic. So what people do, people start shorting the money. What do you mean by short sell or shorting the money? Is basically people start selling up the stocks because they feel that, okay, the country is not on the way of its growth, so that the companies will not be able to grow, the income or the revenues are not going to be really challenging. Other people are looking at us in a negative way, so let's not block the money. So people will start selling the shares. So the moment people start selling the shares, your share market is going to go down and overall panic will happen in the economy. Okay, so this is something you should know, a bit of idea you should have, so that you can connect one point to the other and other to the another, and that's how we can keep on talking in your GD. Fair enough. So current account deficit, at least for last 3 years, इसमें growth हुआ है, इसमें depreciation हुआ है, whatsoever, that's something you should be knowing. Okay, then let's talk about trades. India trade. Okay, now which are more which are those countries with whom we trade? So is that India, Pakistan, China, US, Russia? We have a good tie-up with USA as far as the defense is concerned. So you can talk about, okay, which country we have a maximum tie-ups. Now I'll tell you one quick example. Okay, as far as China is concerned, now you see USA and China, they are closely related to each other, though they are not that great friends as such. Now what happens is basically China has bought like maximum bonds from USA. Okay, now I really don't want to get into the financial jargons, but China has a great financial a role to play as far as US economy is concerned. So if anything goes wrong, China can dump all the bonds of the US economy to the US economy, right? So if that case happens, if there is any problem with the relationship and if China starts dumping all the bonds, then there is going to be huge problem in US economy as such. So you need to understand that, okay, we are trading with this country, is it good for us? Is it bad for us? That's how we can talk in the GD, that, okay, so though we have trade with this country, I don't think this is kind of good for us, because I don't think these are the points that people even bother to understand. So make sure that you understand कि कौन से country के साथ ज़्यादा relations अच्छे हैं. Is it good for us? Is it bad for us? You're getting my point. For example, Russia and India, we have been really great friends, from last so many years. But if you look at the China-Pakistan economic corridor, right? They actually invited Russia into that. Okay. So that's where the relations get hurt, and this is something called as international politics. So it's little important that you should know what's happening around the globe. Fine. Then comes the important point. Visits by the Prime Minister. Mr. Modi visited a lot of countries. across the globe. Now there are a lot of people who are actually criticizing his visits. There are some people who says that he did a fantastic job. So you can talk about it. So I'll give you one of the point of view. There are a lot of countries that he visited, around about like 40 plus. The good point about that 40 plus is that for the fact he could meet up those presidents and prime ministers, it helped India to increase or to kind of repolish or refurbish its image in the international market. So the more you are in good terms with the economies across the globe, the better response you receive from the other countries. Okay, if your country receives better response from the other countries, you have positive attitude amongst the global economy, and that's how your economy gets benefit. So people come to you, they start business with you, they give good recommendation about you. It helps you in UN also, it helps you in IMF also, it helps you in World Bank also. So basically there are a lot of people to watch your back. That is something great that has happened as far as the visits are concerned. Now I won't say negative, but the other side would be what did we achieve from this visits? How much FDIs we got, how much FIIs we got, how much investment we could brought in from the other countries to whom we visited, how much employment we could generate. So what I'm saying is that even if you don't have anything to talk, as such, something which is potential, at least you can contribute these questions. Okay, so let's understand this point. So fine. So here one of my colleagues said that the visits have helped Indian economy, but again the fact that we should look at is that how it has not helped, like, because we don't see any cash inflow, we don't see any employment going up, we don't see any the manufacturing companies coming in India and setting up their hubs. Ikka dukka aaye hai, but I don't think there has been a great increase as such, something like that. Fine. Then comes about insurance IPOs. Okay, so IPOs, like if you remember, couple of months back, in the insurance company there was floods, like it was like flooded. Like every insurance company wanted to get into the IPO. तो थोड़ा समझो IPO क्यों आ रहा है, क्या reason है, कौन सी company का IPO आया. Now basically, why this point I should know? You should know this point because whenever there is IPO happening in the country, it means the country is growing or investors have tremendous confidence in your economy, and that is directly correlated with your government which is ruling your country. Okay, so have a look at that. Then you can talk a little bit about I would say stock markets. Yeah, a little bit idea about stock markets. We touched 36k. Right now we are on 32k. There is a quite gap of 4k. Why it's happening? So that's something that you should be able to talk. Okay, then comes scams. Favorite स्कैम्स के ऊपर बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस आ सकते हैं. इसमें फेसबुक का भी आप पकड़ सकते हो. सो फेसबुक का स्कैंडल वुड बी लाइक साइबर सिक्योरिटी, डेटा प्रोटेक्शन. देन देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड एज कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस. ओके, सो दीज आर द थिंग्स दैट यू शुड नो. कितने स्कैम्स हुए पिछले 10 साल में, पिछले 9 साल में, वॉट एवर, और लाइक बी स्पेसिफिक. लाइक कांग्रेस में कितने, when Congress was ruling, how many scams were there, and now the BJP is ruling, how many scams are happening, something like that. Okay, then you can talk about budget. Now this is going to be a very important point. When I talk about budget, don't talk about everything, just talk about normal points. Talk about education. Okay, so how much money has been given or assigned for education? Okay, then you talk about girl education. Okay, how much money or how much fund has been assigned for girls education? So you can put it like this way. Okay, so on a level of 10th, 12th and graduation. Okay, my view till here, anybody can manage the education, but is there any provision in the government who can fund MBA or doctorate, whatever, like anything that can help a girl or a economical backward person to stand on his own feet? Is there any scholarship? Is there any concession? Is there any discount? Because after graduation, if you're pursuing your MBA or if you're pursuing your anything to do with the medicine or anything to do with anything that will give you a job, high ticket size educational degrees like MBAs, is there any provision for economically backward people that government will fund you? Or there are scholarships like Birlas and Tatas, and these are the scholarships, but very few people do get them. So is there any provision? Can government do anything so that people pursue or they go for this kind of degrees and they get a job and they stand on their own feet? So is there any provision in the education budget like that? You can talk about that. You can talk about defense. Okay, how much is the budget given for defense? Where I think this is required now, because if you look at USA, it's around about 30 to 40% budget has been given to the defense. Looking at the kind of China and Pakistan, the way they are behaving, I think defense budget should move the ladder up. So that's my personal view, by the way. So this is something that you should know about economics. Okay, not much. You can do this in 2 hours or 3 hours, but these kind of figures can help you to actually talk in GD. Then comes social. Okay, so social is again important. First of all, you need to understand what social you can talk about. Average life expectancy, how much is in India? You can talk about that. Male to female ratio. Okay, this is something that you should know. Beti Badhao, Beti Bachao, something that you can talk about. Age groups. Okay, you can talk about age groups. In India, 50% of the generation or 50% of the population is below 25%, rather below 25 age, and round about 65% are below 35. We are the youngest population in the world, and that's where the world is looking at us, and that's where you will see in every country the third person is an Indian. Okay, so that's something that we should be really proud of. Okay, so you can talk about social, then you can talk about social issues or the problems. Problems, as far as problems are concerned, what all religion issues happened, what all communal clashes that has happened in India, what sort of good things happened in society, what sort of bad things happened in society in last 1 year. That's something you can talk about. You can talk about some famous women personalities. Okay, you can talk about all the issues that took place in last 1 year. So just Google up all the rights or something like that has happened last 1 year, all the social issues and concern. You will get that information for sure. Okay, then comes your demonetization. Okay, now जहाँ तक बात है demonetization की, I'm very sure everybody will start clipping about is it good or is it bad, something like that. My view is basically go back and check if it's good, why, if it's bad, why, collect some data on it. Okay, quickly. Now, how can you do this little different way? See, everybody is going to talk about demonetization, this had happened, that has happened. What I want you guys to understand is, if you want to cut somebody in a GD, just say this, just enter, say that, alright, so we've been talking about demonetization that has happened recently. Let's understand when was the first time demonetization took place. Okay, which all the countries who started with demonetization and how it helped them or affected them. So if you're giving this, this little kind of a root cause analysis of the demonetization as a whole concept, I think people will definitely appreciate that. Okay. Then comes a bit of current affairs. Now in current affairs, do not try to do everything. In current affairs, you can talk about sports, you can talk about scams, you can talk about some awards and all that. If there are any women candidates who've got some awards, you can talk about that. And most importantly, you can talk about government yojnas. Okay, what all government yojnas we did, like Jan Dhan Yojana, kaise fayda hua, kya benefit hua. Okay, so now to put it in a nutshell, okay, there are 3 important things that you should know. You should know about Indian economy, the stats that I have told you. The second comes the social problem. Okay, and then comes third, the current affairs. Okay, cyber security, data security, and all that stuff. And I think international news, if I talk about, then you can talk about this geopolitics, Korea, China, this relationship and all that stuff. Okay, at least start with this. I am very sure you will get a lot of points where you can connect it and you can talk in GD. My next video will be on abstract. Okay, how to kind of counter it, rather how to approach abstract topics, and the next is going to be GD skills. So stay tuned to the channel. You will get these videos from me today itself. And then in skills, I'll tell you, if you know these things, whatever I just said, if you know these things, then in the skills and the abstract video, you will get to know how to connect them to each other. But this is bare minimum you should know, guys. Okay, so be good with the statistics and be good with the fundamentals of the economy that has happened in the last year, current affairs and social. Okay, wish you good luck. Thank you so much for watching this video.